Good evening, welcome back. Sit down, this one matters. On October 23, 2025, something happened that most people missed buried under the noise of daily headlines. President Donald Trump went on social media and announced in a late-night post that all trade talks with Canada were terminated. Not paused, not on hold, terminated. A week later, October 31, 2025, Trump confirmed to reporters, "The United States and Canada will not restart trade talks." Let that sink in. Every single day, according to the Business Data Lab citing Statistics Canada and the U.S. Census Bureau, $3.6 billion worth of goods crosses the border between the United States and Canada. $3.6 billion, every single day. That is not a small number. That is the largest bilateral trading relationship. On the planet Earth, annual two-way trade sits at approximately $1.3 trillion, and the broader USMCA trilateral trade corridor, including Mexico, moves closer to $1.6 trillion per year. And as of this moment, no official deadline for resuming talks has been confirmed. The table is empty. In plain English, here is exactly what the United States demanded. Here is what this trade war actually looks like in numbers, not spin, numbers. First, since March 2025, the Trump administration slapped a 25% tariff on the majority of Canadian goods entering the United States. That was the opening blow. Second, by July 11, 2025, Trump announced he was raising that rate to 35% on Canadian imports, effective August 1. Reuters confirmed this directly, citing an executive order signed by Trump. Bloomberg verified it independently on the same day. Third, and this is the part that hit workers first, the tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum were pushed to 50%. The tariff on Canadian automobiles was set at 25%. These are not background economic statistics. These are the numbers that are shutting down plants in Ontario and laying off workers in Windsor and Hamilton. This is what Trump said when confronted about the collapse of talks on October 31, 2025. "I like him a lot, but what they did was wrong." He apologized for what they did with the commercial because it was a false commercial. He was talking about an advertisement run by the province of Ontario. The ad used a recording of former President Ronald Reagan's 1987 radio address, in which Reagan warned that tariffs cause trade wars, destroy markets, and eliminate millions of jobs. Ontario ran that ad during the World Series, the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, to reach an American audience. Trump called it fraudulent. He terminated negotiations. He added another 10% tariff on top of the 35% that was already in place. The documented goal here is clear. Every escalation has been paired with a demand for Canada to restructure its trade relationship on Washington's terms or face economic suffocation. According to Reuters, White House advisor Kevin Hassett told reporters that Trump was very frustrated and that the Canadians had been very difficult to negotiate with, citing a lack of flexibility. That is the aggressor's position, in writing, on record. Now here is where Mark Carney did something remarkable. He did not panic, he did not fold, he did not cry for a deal at any price. He said 9 words in the Oval Office on May 6, 2025, standing directly in front of Donald Trump, that set the tone for everything that followed. "It's not for sale, won't be for sale, ever." He was talking about Canada itself. Trump had repeatedly suggested Canada should become the 51st state of the United States. Carney, a former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, looked the most powerful man in the world in the eye in his own house and said, no, he did not yell. He did not look angry. He spoke in a very steady, calm voice. That moment flipped the script completely. Here is why it was a masterstroke. As the New York Times reported in September 2025, Carney had already introduced a strategic shift to reduce Canada's economic reliance on the United States. While tariffs were escalating, Carney was quietly building alternative pipelines. He launched a trade diversification strategy. He traveled to Asia in late October 2025, just as Trump was terminating talks. The timing was not accidental. Reuters confirmed Carney's Asia tour targeted the Philippines, Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan, and possibly a meeting with Xi Jinping to reset Canada-China relations. The message Carney was sending to Washington: Canada has other options, and we are exercising them. Here is what was happening behind closed doors while these headlines were breaking. According to Bloomberg's reporting on March 5, 2026, reviewing the full 2025 data, 8 charts documented what they called a rupture in the Canada-US economic relationship. The data showed a measurable pullback in Canadian exports to the United States starting immediately after Trump's tariffs hit in March 2025. Canada's economy, valued at approximately $2.2 trillion, according to Reuters, began taking visible damage. The Bank of Canada was watching every number closely. It kept its key policy rate unchanged through the summer, partly because of a temporarily strong labor market. But the cracks were visible. The manufacturing sector was hemorrhaging. Statistics Canada data released on August 8, 2025, and reported by Al Jazeera confirmed that Canada's economy shed 40,800 jobs in July 2025 alone, reversing a net addition of 83,000 jobs the month before. The employment rate dropped to 60.7%, an 8-month low. Michael Davenport, senior economist at Oxford Economics, stated in a note, Canada's labor market snapped back to reality in July. Oxford Economics then forecast something sobering, a total of 140,000 lost jobs by the end of the cycle, with unemployment rising to the mid-7% range. Youth unemployment hit 14.6%, the highest level since September 2010, outside of the pandemic years. These are not panic. These are Statistics Canada's official numbers, published, verified, on record. Now let me show you why this trade war is not a clean fight. It is not a fight between two countries that happen to trade. It is a fight between two economies that are physically fused together. Let me give you one product, one real product. An automobile, specifically a single auto-parted or striker plate, a metal latch mechanism that locks your car door shut. According to NBC News reporting from 2025, one such component manufactured in Windsor, Ontario, crosses the Canada-US border 4 times before it is installed in a finished vehicle. Raw steel goes south, machined parts come north. Sub-assemblies go south again. The completed door system comes back north to be mounted. The Business Data Lab, citing the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, states that auto parts cross the Canada-US border up to 8 times before final assembly. Mark Carney himself, citing industry data, stated that the average is 6 times. Think about that. 6 times, across a border where you are now charging 25% per crossing on automobiles. According to the RBC Economics analysis published in 2025, the auto manufacturing sector accounted for 29% of all U.S. duties collected from Canada year to date. Steel and aluminum combined accounted for another 23%. So when Trump slaps a 25% tariff on Canadian cars, he does not just hurt Windsor. He directly raises costs for General Motors in Detroit, for Stellantis in Michigan, for every American worker whose job depends on parts that cross that border 6 times. Canada responded. On the same day Trump terminated trade talks, October 23, 2025, Canada sharply reduced tariff-free import quotas for General Motors and Stellantis, citing those companies' decisions to scale back manufacturing in Canada. Canada is not a passive victim in this fight, it is pulling levers, and some of those levers pull directly back into the American heartland. There are really only 3 ways this plays out, and every single one matters to your daily life. Someone blinks quietly. Both sides agree to a modest framework. No dramatic headlines. A face-saving deal gets done before the 2026 USMCA review, the scheduled review of the North America Free Trade Agreement that all 3 countries are required to attend. Tariff cease, prices stabilize. Carney gets credit for standing firm. Trump says he got the best deal ever. This happened before. In 1987, Ronald Reagan used the very threat of tariffs on Japanese semiconductors to extract a market access agreement from Tokyo, then moved on. The same Reagan whose voice Ontario used in that ad. The crisis passed, trade resumed. This is possible. It requires a political off-ramp that allows both leaders to save face. The 2026 USMCA review could be that off-ramp. No official deadline has been confirmed yet, but time is not neutral. Every month that talks remain suspended, supply chains realign. Companies make alternative sourcing decisions that are not easily reversed. Retaliation escalates. Canada has already imposed 25% tariffs on $155 billion worth of American goods, confirmed by Bloomberg in February 2025. If tariffs remain at 35 to 45%, more sectors follow. Think of the 1930s Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. The United States raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. Other nations retaliated. Global trade collapsed by 66% in 3 years. The Great Depression deepened. No one is saying that happens here, but the historical warning is real. Prolonged trade wars do not end cleanly. This is the path of continued attrition, damaging for both sides. Costs mount slowly and irreversibly. Canada walks, not in anger, strategically. Carney is already in Asia. He is already negotiating a Canada-ASEAN free trade agreement, confirmed by a Canadian government press release on October 27, 2025. He met with European leaders. He is reportedly in discussions with China, according to the Straits Times. Carney aims to lead a new global trading order less reliant on the United States. The historical parallel, Britain's pivot after the 1956 Suez Crisis. When Washington pulled the financial rug on Britain's operation in Egypt, London began quietly, steadily, pivoting its foreign and economic policy. The relationship survived, but The power dynamic shifted permanently. Canada is America's largest customer. 34 U.S. states depend on Canada as their top export destination. If Canada systematically redirects even a portion of that demand, the map changes. Not overnight, but permanently. This is the long game Carney appears to be playing, and Washington should be paying very careful attention. Right now, nobody knows which path we are on, but you need to be ready. Let me bring this all the way down to your kitchen table, because this is where it lands. If you live in the United States, your car costs more. Automobiles with Canadian-made components now carry costs inflated by a 25% tariff on those parts crossing the border. Multiple times, that cost does not disappear. It gets passed to you at the dealership. If you work in manufacturing in Michigan, Ohio, or New York, the plants you work in or near depend on cross-border supply chains with Canada. According to the Business Data Lab, 1.4 million American jobs are supported by trade with Canada, not indirectly, directly. If you are a farmer in a U.S. border state, Canada has placed 25% retaliatory tariffs on $155 billion worth of American goods. Agricultural products are on that list. Your market just got smaller. According to Statistics Canada, as of August 2025, Canada's manufacturing sector saw employment shrink by close to 10,000 workers in July alone on a year-over-year basis, directly attributed to steel, aluminum, and auto sector layoffs. Oxford Economics forecasts that number climbs to 140,000 total job losses in Canada by the end of the current cycle. But here is the domino that most people are not watching. When Canadian workers lose jobs, they stop buying American goods. Canada is the single largest customer for 34 of the 50 U.S. states. When that customer hurts, those 34 states feel it. Small business owners on both sides of the border who rely on cross-border sales, suppliers, or inputs they are already calling. Lawyers and renegotiating contracts. This is not an abstract geopolitical dispute. This is your grocery bill. This is your car payment. This is the assembly plant in your county. So what are both sides actually doing right now? Trump's documented strategy is escalation as leverage. Raise the tariff, terminate the talks, wait for capitulation. He has used this playbook before with China in 2018, with the EU on steel, and it has produced results, both agreements and prolonged damage, depending on the counterpart. Carney's documented strategy is defensive resilience. He removed most of Canada's retaliatory tariffs to reduce tension. He apologized for the Ontario ad to keep the personal relationship with Trump intact. At the same time, he is diversifying Canada's trade relationships Asia, Europe, ASEAN, so that Canada's leverage with Washington grows over time, not shrinks. Both strategies are logical. Both carry serious risks. If you are listening to this right now, here is what financial experts are suggesting based on current reporting. According to analysts cited in Reuters and Bloomberg coverage throughout late 2025, look at your supply chain. If your business buys or sells anything that crosses the US-Canada border, call your suppliers. This week, ask them what contingencies they have. Prices on steel, aluminum, auto parts, and energy inputs are not stable right now. If you are a consumer, financial experts suggest, do not panic buy. But if you are planning a large purchase that involves durable goods with North American supply chains, cars, appliances, home construction, materials, be aware that costs may rise further before they stabilize. Do not panic, but plan. Those are different things. Panic is reactive. Planning is protective. The world is watching. Every word matters. Here is what we know. Confirmed, verified, from Tier 1 sources only. The board is set. Trump terminated all trade talks with Canada on October 23, 2025. Trump announced on October 31, 2025, that talks would not restart. The current tariff on Canadian goods is 35%, with 50% on steel and aluminum and 25% on automobiles. Canada shed 40,800 jobs in July 2025 alone. Mark Carney is on a plane to Asia, building new trade partnerships as you watch this video. No official deadline for restarting talks has been confirmed yet. The clock is winding down. I am going to skip the political spin. I am going to track the real numbers. I am going to bring you the exact facts tomorrow. I am here to make sure you have the facts. Have a good night. Stay calm and check in with us tomorrow.